This was not the first time that he'd been in this place. He'd been there many times since he was a boy, but now he was an old man. In his reflection in the dusty window, you could see that he wasn't always a happy man. There was a grumpy look on his face. The rain was falling on his short, curly white hair, and standing outside of the magic shop, he could remember what it was like when he had been a boy. He'd always thought that the air was glowing, that the air was filled with sparks and would crackle, but he thought that that was just when he was a boy. The shop looked dustier now, and he remembered the owner, who always looked old, and when he'd been there earlier in the afternoon, the owner of the shop never looked any older. He'd always looked ancient, nearly as old as this old man was now. Looking in through the window, he could see that even though it was dark, he could see that there was all sorts of different things. He could see that there was a rattle that seemed to catch his attention and would make a perfect present for his 1-year-old grandson. But he would never be able to afford it, not now. As the air still seemed to spark and crackle, he looked and he saw that there was a magic set. He remembered that magic set that he'd been bought when he was younger, and the owner of the shop had said, "You can do anything that you want. All you have to do is put your mind to it." He did want to get this rattle for his grandson. He was surprised himself that he wanted to do something so kind. Mostly, the family just saw him as an old, grumpy man. But now, on this dark and stormy winter's night, his collar was getting wet and his shoes were starting to take in water. He was standing there on the rough pavement and just wondering. The owner of the shop had spoken to him and said, "You can do anything that you want if you just put your mind to it." And he wondered if he went back home and got the magic set, that he could still remember the smell of the real plastic and the crackle of the cellophane. He could come back to the shop that no one seemed to visit anymore. He could come back with his magic set, and perhaps, if he put his mind to it, could open the door and take the rattle for his grandson. He thought of himself. He remembered himself as a boy. How excited he'd been when he'd received that magic set, new and sparkling and his. But there was no way that he was going to steal that rattle. He knew that once he'd put his mind to it, as the old man had said, once he'd put his mind to it, he could get that rattle. He saved, he scrimped, he did without things, and was very proud when he walked into the shop and bought it. Inside his family, everyone was surprised that he was insistent that he came to the family fireworks. Nobody had seen him for quite some time, let alone his grandson. His grandson was very surprised when the old man stepped up to him and had the present hidden behind his back and stepped up to him and put it into his 10-year-old hands. It had taken him a long time to save up for it, but there was no way, once he'd put his mind to it, that he was going to give his grandson a present that had been stolen.